Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about dialogue quest solutions. I've talked about these before. It's what I mean by it is that's when your character has an option to solve a quest through the conversation system. Now, yes, it usually means they have to have gone and found something or done some other things, but ultimately it results the quest gets resolved by them talking to the NPC. I've talked about multiple quest solutions, and inside of that, I talked about dialogue quest solutions. The link is in the description to my multiple quest solution video. But I wanted to talk about it in particular for a couple reasons, because there's a couple problems I see with it, with dialogue-based quest solutions. And I will acknowledge there are some RPGs out there that don't support dialogue-based quest solutions at all. You all know who they are. I'm not here to cast aspersions. That's a design choice. But I like games that let any build I can imagine make or get through the game, whether they fight or avoid or stealth attack or talk. But I want to talk about the issues I see with quest-based, dialogue-based quest solutions. The big one is many RPGs that implement these solutions do it as what I call one-shotting. And why do I call it one-shotting? Well, if you've ever made a combat player character and you really, min-max it and you've got the best items and equipment, and then you go up against a big boss and you kill them in one blow, that really isn't fun. It's really not fun. You have a lot more fun when there's at least a bit of a challenge and the boss lasts a little bit, especially if they say things or they go through different phases so you can see all the different cool things they do. And yet, many games, many RPGs that have dialogue quest solutions, one-shot it. There's a line. Oh, your skill's high enough? Click, done. That's not fun. But I see it. I see it done. And that's why I'm going to say this isn't how I think you should do it. I think dialogue solutions should be a multi-stage thing you do. They should be about being able to use information that you've gathered in a dialogue to complete a quest. And that information may have to be something that you gathered somewhere else. Maybe you found documents in a locked safe. How did you get in there? Maybe you also have lockpicking. Maybe you convinced an NPC to open it up with your speech skill. Maybe you used dynamite. Maybe you found another way in. Maybe you pickpocketed the key off someone. Maybe you got information by simply talking to people who know that NPC. And one of them tells you, did you know that he's afraid of fire? Ooh. Maybe you threatened someone. Maybe you bribed someone. The important thing about all of this is it's other things you had to do to set up that dialogue-based solution. And those other things required you to use skills and or items. So maybe the documents you found, maybe they were lying out, but you found them because you have an observation skill that highlights things that you can pick up. Maybe you learned that secret about the NPC because you have a high speech skill, but you use it on someone else, not the NPC himself, because he's not going to tell you he's afraid of fire. Maybe you had to threaten that person to tell you about that NPC, that boss's fear of fire, and you had to use an intimidate skill, because maybe intimidate is based on something, a different attribute than speech. Or if you bribed someone, maybe you had to bribe them with money. And if you didn't have enough money, you can go out and do other things so you have the money. Or maybe the way you bribed them was they wanted some rare artifact. And the only way to get it is to do some side quest for them. Now, you don't need to do that. There's other ways you could get it. But there's a side quest. You go off on that side quest, you get that rare item, you give it to the NPC, they tell you that information. Now you can go back to the boss and go through that conversation. What I like about this is it's not a one-shot thing. It's not a one-click, you win, keep going. There's a whole bunch of issues if you implement it that way. Not the slightest of which is it's not that fun for the speech-based player character, but also if all your dialogue quests are like that, and I'm playing a conversation guy, I'm going to go through your game really fast. So then you have people going, that 15-hour game, it only took me 7 hours. So I always like giving an example. So I'm going to walk you through. I think this is a well-known dialogue solution from the original Fallout, but I'm going to walk you through how you do the dialogue-based quest solution for the master at the end of Fallout. So this is the big baddie. So spoiler warning, if you haven't finished Fallout, you know that game that came out 29 years ago? Spoiler warning. I've seen many people say online, oh, you just need a minimum speech skill and Vree's autopsy report. Vree is a scientist at the Brotherhood of Steel. Yes, but it's actually in reality a lot more complex than that, because we're trying to support multiple types of speech player builds, and we didn't want it to be a one-shot like that. Like you show up and you go, see this? Click. He kills himself. So let me walk you through exactly what you need to just get that report from Vree. First of all, you have to find the Brotherhood of Steel. They have their own location on the map, and you don't necessarily have to go there. Then you have to join them. And remember, to join them, they don't let you inside. You're sent off on a trip to the Glow, where a lot of people die because it's heavily radioactive. Why do you think it's called the Glow? So you have to go there. You have to prepare. You better bring radiation drugs and I think a rope. And you have to go to the Glow and you have to find some information for Vree, and then... Well, actually, no, you don't even find information for it. You go to the Glow and you do what the Brotherhood of Steel guard told you to do. Then you get entrance to the Brotherhood of Steel. Then you have to find Vree. When you find her, it is a minimum intelligence check. I looked at the script. It's 7. If you don't have at least a 7 int, you can't talk to Vree and get her autopsy report. So right there, you're cut out. You're going to have to find one of the other solutions for the master. But to then go to the master and talk him into just like his whole plan is bad and he's going to kill himself, you have to have read the autopsy report. Reading the report is what opens up the dialogue line in the master's conversation script. And then when you talk to the master, you either have to have that autopsy report with you so you can show it to him, or you have to have a minimum speech skill. Now, you have to have read it, but if you don't have it with you, your speech skill has to be a certain minimum. Now, this one is implemented in the script as a speech check roll, and unfortunately, since I don't have original Fallout stuff, which I've talked about on here, I couldn't tease it out from the compiled version. I think it does a skill check with a minimum of 75. But that doesn't mean you can walk in there with a 75 and you're guaranteed. Once it goes over 100, not 100, over 100, which you can do in all kinds of ways, spending points, taking mentats, you have a very good chance of passing that roll. And then the master will go, oh my God, what have I done? So you have to do all of those things and then talk to the master correctly through his conversation system, and you can do it. Now, I've said that dialogue solutions are just one of multiple quest solutions, like I mentioned in my multiple quest solution video. The other problem, though, I wanted to talk about, in addition to this one-shot stuff I see a lot, is that dialogues back then, and still now, are completely 100% handcrafted. And I'm saying that not because I think it's bad that they're handcrafted, but I wish there was also a way to make them systemic. Like I described in that video, the multiple quest solution video. Here's why. Combat and stealth solutions can be added to your game systemically. Random encounters that are just, you put down, you're like, if the player has a random encounter, look up some of these monster things, spawn them in. Those already support a bunch of different kinds of combat playthroughs. Maybe you pick melee, maybe you pick range, maybe you pick unarmed. You can even sneak past some of them. But if those encounters need any dialogue, they have to be handcrafted. Similarly, if you wanted a stealth solution, you can just put a chest in and go, boom, this item is in this chest, and put it in. systemically, you gain lockpicking to open it up. You get strength checks to open it up. You get explosions to blow it open. And if you do something as simple as saying, here's a key in the world, and the key ID matches that chest ID, which literally takes 10 seconds, you've got a solution that involves killing a guard for the key or pickpocketing the key off of them. And then, of course, if you wanted the dialogue solution, now you have to actually write dialogue for him where you can say, can I buy that key? Can I have that key? Because I'm so cute. Whatever. My point here is there are no systemic dialogue solutions. And what that means is, because it's way easier to make combat or stealth solutions, there tend to be a lot more of those. In a map, I believe the Rescuing Tandy had 14 different solutions, but most of them weren't dialogue. And the dialogue ones had to be handcrafted to be put in there. So that's kind of what my question is now, is where are my systemic dialogue quest solutions? Do you guys know of any game that uses that? And this is where you come in, because I want you to either find those or figure out a way it can be done, because what would make Uncle Tim really happy is if he could play a cool RPG that had multiple kinds of quest solutions in it. And if they're systemic, that means just about every quest has all those different ways to do it. And systemic just means it's data driven and no one had to do a lot of work to get it in there. It just falls out of the rules of the game. I've never figured out how to make systemic dialogue quest solutions, but to me that's the next big thing. If you can do that, if you can figure out a way of setting up NPC data and world data and everything so that dialogue solutions fall out of it as easily as the combat and stealth solutions, I think that's going to be the next big thing. Anyway, that's what I want to talk about today with dialogue quest solutions.